Well, on the bright side, at least we don't have to talk about Kirk Cousins' situation anymore. This should be the final time where we're going to talk about this for the next 2 years. I've made myself very clear. I don't like the idea of extending him at all. At least I was a fan of trading him more than extending him. I was saying extending him for 1 year is the second best thing. But if we head on over to the screen right here, per Tom Pelissero, as of yesterday, the Vikings are signing Pro Bowl quarterback Kirk Cousins, three-time Pro Bowl quarterback Kirk Cousins, to a 1 year, $35 million fully guaranteed extension that puts him under contract through 2023 per sources. Now, that's fully guaranteed once again because Kirk Cousins refused to sign any contract that is not fully guaranteed money. Okay, I don't hate the idea of good players demanding money. I'm gonna be honest, I don't like paying Kirk this much. I respect players who demand money, but at the end of the day, Kirk, you don't deserve this much money. Cousins gets a raise to $40 million in 2022, $55 million payable by next March, and a no trade clause. This last sentence here is huge because that is payable by next March, meaning we don't have to pay Kirk Cousins this much money now, meaning we can go more over the cap. We can just sign a bunch of players this week and then we're fine. We can fill all of our needs this week because we don't have to pay that money quite yet. This is kind of a way of Kwesi trying to cheat the system. And then the last part's the worst. A no trade clause. Are you kidding me? Now we know Kirk is going to be under contract the next 2 years. The only way he wouldn't be, or under contract with our team the next 2 years, the only way he wouldn't be is if we do waive a no trade clause after the season. And in that case, Kirk Cousins has to agree to waiving a no trade clause, which, let's be honest, that's not going to happen. Kirk Cousins is not going to waive his no trade clause. Absolutely not. But it's really interesting here because not only, they didn't mention quite here, but there is 2 void years on his contract. If you head on over to Kirk Cousins' contract, you'll see here that we are paying him a lot of money. Obviously, it's Kirk Cousins. We're going to continue to pay him a ridiculous amount of money. He's making 15% of our salary cap this year and 16.1% in 2023. That is a $31.4 million cap hit in 2022, which is a lot less than he was actually already going to be paid. Now, I've mentioned many times in the show that paying him 40, okay, here's the thing. Yes, I wanted to trade away Kirk Cousins, but I did mention a contract extension to be the next best thing because I did not want to pay Kirk Cousins under a $45 million cap hit in 2022. Now, yes, trading him away would have saved us a lot of money, and whoever would have started at quarterback would have been a lot worse than Kirk Cousins. Don't get me wrong. I'm trying to look on the bright side here because, yes, I wanted him to get traded away. It's not going to happen. He's going to be under contract for the next 2 years. To be honest, going into this offseason, I did not expect this to be the case. But when we brought Kevin O'Connell in, I was talking about extending him as the most likely situation. But this will free up a lot of money. That frees up a bunch of money for our team to be able to spend because we have a lot of holes to fill. Starting at right guard, we have to put our Kirk Cousins in the right situation to succeed when you're paying him 15% of your salary cap. Not only that, but when it comes to the defensive backs, I mean, we need a safety at corner. We're going to get into this later. Okay, don't worry. We're going to get into this later. We're going to try to fill a lot of these needs this week. We'll get into this, but right now we're looking at this Kirk Cousins contract. In 2023, he's making 36 and a quarter million dollars on our team. That's 16.1% of our salary cap and a lot of money. Now, them adding 2 void years was really odd. I did not expect the Vikings I expected a 1-year extension. I did not see the Vikings adding 2 void years to his contract, meaning we're going to pay him when he's no longer with our team. That's just odd. I did not expect that to happen at all. But us freeing up some money here is crucial. Obviously, we have many players on contract here. Justin Jefferson's going to get paid after this season. I mean, he has 2 more years left in his contract. After this year, you should lock him in on a 6-year contract. Okay, you should put him on a 5-year extension because that's Justin Jefferson, and you cannot afford to lose a player like that. So he's going to get paid after this year. We also have KJ Osborne's on his contract here. We have Irv Smith Jr. on his contract here. We have multiple players who are playing for a bigger contract right now, to where freeing up some money was definitely crucial for our team. Now, with that being said, obviously with what Tom Pelissero is saying here, we don't have to pay by next March. That's huge because we can bring a lot of players on 1-year contracts. I believe the Vikings will bring in Akeem Hicks, as they've already talked about with him, and they'll likely bring him back on a 1-year or bring him on a 1-year contract. And I'd expect Akeem Hicks to not be the only player coming on our Vikings team on a 1-year contract, where the Vikings just basically just screw themselves in salary cap. Now, a lot of people will continue to say, "Oh, salary cap is a myth." Salary cap is not a myth. Let's be honest. It's not a myth at all. Salary cap is serious, but when it comes to this, you find players, you find like Quasi trying to cheat the salary cap situation right here, which I'm fine with that because we can bring in a lot of players in free agency now with this Kirk Cousins contract. And I'm trying to look on the bright side here. So here we are, Vikings fans, in the same situation we are every year. We're coming off of a season where we missed the playoffs, and then we're just going for full reload. We're just going to try to win our division next year. We're just going for trying to reload and go for a Super Bowl next year. We're in the same situation we are year after year after year. This is typically the spot where I get my hopes up. This is typically the spot where we all say, oh, let's go for a Super Bowl. This year is our year. Says right here on the mug. Next year is our year, club. You see us Vikings team right there. Why? Because we finish as an 8-win team every single year. We're in the same situation we are every single year. And I expected with this new regime, with Quasi and KOC coming into our organization, that we wouldn't have to see the same Vikings team that I have watched my entire life. My entire life. Since I've started being a Vikings fan from birth till now. It's been the same situation year after year where we just try to reload and the Vikings get our hopes up. We enter the next year, we don't win our division, and we miss the playoffs. Or if we do win our division, which happens about once every 5 years, we're one and done in the playoffs. I've never seen my Vikings team win back-to-back games in the playoffs, as we are just that inconsistent as a team. Let's be honest. Us Vikings, we can be a 10-win team next year. We can. We can even win our division next year. I'm not ruling out the possibility of the Vikings. To be honest, next year, Vikings can be the best offense in football. We can. We can. Justin Jefferson can break records. Kirk Cousins, I'll give Kirk Cousins where credit is due. He might not be able to live up to his contract. I don't see that happening. But at the end of the day, I mean, Kirk Cousins is still a top 15 quarterback in the league. And I would argue top 10. Him being on our team will definitely accelerate us to be a top 10 at least. Hopefully, we can get to a top 3 offense next season. It can happen. It can. I just don't see in any scenario where we can make the Super Bowl. Let's be honest. I don't think it's going to happen. I really don't. I don't believe at all with it's going to happen. And this offseason has not been good for us either. With Tom Brady returning, now I mentioned it many times that I don't believe Tom Brady is going to stay retired, whether he was going to come back this offseason or next offseason. Little did I know his retirement was going to last less than 3 months. Him returning. Not only that, you got Aaron Rodgers returning. I mean, I just don't see a case where we can make a Super Bowl out of this. But let's be honest. I'm not trying to get you guys' hopes up. We should be a great offense next year. With Kevin O'Connell leading this team, with Kirk Cousins still on our roster, we have a great receiving core. There's no question we have a top 3 receiving core in the league. We have a top 3 running back duo as of right now. Now, we don't know how this offseason is going to go. We might see fullback CJ Ham cut. I would honestly believe CJ Ham's going to be cut by the end of today. Today is Monday, March 14th. I believe he's going to be cut by the end of today. Not only that, but I believe we're going to see Michael Pierce cut as well. We're going to see some big-time roster moves to free up some cap space and to be able to afford some of these players this week. Not only that, but Dalvin Cook, I mean, I'm not going to rule out the possibility of him being traded away as well. I mean, let's not forget, Dalvin Cook, I have him on a poster back here. I love the guy, okay? But what I love more than Dalvin Cook is having money that can go elsewhere, therefore our team can win. So trading away Dalvin Cook is another possibility on top of that. Especially with Kevin O'Connell-led offense, I believe we should just build our team around the pass. This is how Kevin O'Connell loves to leave an offense, and this is how I love to see our offense played. Because let's not forget, last year, when did the Vikings look the best? When we gave Justin Jefferson over 10 targets a game. Okay, not when we gave Dalvin Cook 30 carries a game. The Vikings looked the best last year when we targeted Justin Jefferson, not handing the ball off 30 times a game. So that's the reason why the possibility of that there's still a possibility of trading away Dalvin Cook. But all in all, I don't like the idea of extending him simply because I loved the idea of trading him away. However, I'm going to try to stay bright. I'm going to give Kevin O'Connell, I'm going to give Quasi a chance here because I'll give him a shot. I'll give him a chance. I love the guys. I do love this new regime that we have, and I'll give the Vikings another chance. I'll give Kirk Cousins another chance, and here we go, round and round again. We're going to see the same thing we saw from the last 5 years and the same Vikings team that I've seen my entire life, where year after year after year, we're in the same situation. We reload, we go for a Super Bowl next year, and we end up missing the playoffs by 1 game.